G'day, welcome back as we continue on the string challenge of connecting all of the world in a single line. So we have Zambia was our last one in, and we got two cities on the outskirts there, but haven't connected them yet. Next we'll bring in Angola. Okay. Try and speed things up, see how it can handle it. It looks like that guy might be created. To answer the question that I asked on that last one, why that list wasn't showing of like the most lowly populated countries by area of density, that's the word. The reason that there was showing so few countries in that population density was because that it wasn't showing Madagascar and so on was because it wasn't showing countries or anywhere with a population of less than 5 million, I believe. So places that actually would top the list of the countries with the lowest density, like Greenland and Mongolia, just weren't showing up on it for that reason. Anyway, onto our New Horizons. You can see it is still getting quite jumpy. We might just stay a little bit more zoomed in there as we just give it a moment for Angola. It's still quite jumpy. Let's have a look to see what we've got. Angola as a... Actually, I think while we're just waiting there, let's slow things down so we can move over. Someone pointed out that there was... Whoa! That there was a northern... I thought there was a northern Argentinian city that wasn't connected. Can't see it. Thank you for looking out, though. Those all newly created. I declined something that annihilated the level of all my Chilean cities. But I was just blindly agreeing to everything, but I must have missed something that was, do I want to make air travel miserable in Chile? Alright, back to normal. Those guys are just red because they're badly managed. Okay, so let's get back into Angola. The Republic of Angola is a country. It's on the west coast, unsurprisingly. Second largest Lusophone country, which means Portuguese speaking. Second largest Portuguese speaking country in both total area and population, behind Brazil, both cases. And it's the seventh largest country in Africa, bordered by Namibia in the south. It has an enclave, an exclave province, the province of Cabinda, that borders the Republic of Congo and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Its most populated city is Luanda. What's that saying? Is that this part up here? Yes. So this little bit up here was also part of Angola. Why? I don't know. Find out. Population? 33 million. It has been inhabited since the Paleolithic age. Find out how long ago that was about. This is starting to make a case for working its way down. I suppose at this point we could almost connect like this, just have it bounce back up. Okay, so the Paleolithic age is basically the Old Stone Age, period in prehistory distinguished by the original development of stone tools that covers 99% of the period of human technological prehistory. It extends from the earliest known use of stone tools by hominins around 3.3 million years ago to the end around 11,600 BC. So that's quite an innings for there to have been Angolans about speaking Portuguese. That looks like there's some pretty neat cave paintings. No, that's northern Spain, because I realize I'm looking at everything in the Paleolithic era. The oldest thing I think I've ever seen in a museum is I was in Shanghai Museum, and they had the stone, like a really prettily designed square head of an axe. I think it was from about 5,500 BC. It's really crazy to think about anything from that long ago. Now at this point this is sort of slowly working its way down. So how this is going to incorporate into what I've got here, a bit tricky to piece together. They're also a member of the United Nations. There you go. In a country that I know very little about, like this sort of central, I know about Tanzania a little bit, but this central section here, actually you can probably extend that all the way up to Nigeria, so when all of that, definitely the Africa is certainly not something that we did a lot of in school at all, similar to what I said about South America. And I'm not sure that we did much outside of that sort of standardy, like Egypt. What else? Egypt, sort of the European English, more English history. Okay, let's just have a makeshift route for Angola, which will be that one. We want that one. No. No. Ugh, only got it. No. There we go. Okay, so we'll go in there and then let's concede and go a little bit closer. Let's slow things down to let it. These are all pretty lengthy routes bouncing through Angola. Similar to Congo, it wouldn't hurt to have more planes flying about in this place. Yeah, I am now suspicious that I've broken through a threshold of the amount of time it takes for people to travel through this network isn't as productive as the amount of money that I'm making. So for example, if someone's traveling from here to there, that's going to make me a decent amount of money because of the as the crow flies length of that trip. But I'm not making money for every single like connection they make. I'm making money for the length of that trip, but the duration of the time it's taking for them to get there is excessive. Give that guy 500 and then we'll give him a 300 seater as well. That helps out. That one will be this side as well. That one seems to react a fair bit to the amount of people arriving at it, so let's come up. You got two guys sitting right on top of each other. That won't help. Let's just give him 3, but spread across the line. Oh, he's sort of struggling both directions. I guess this way is the slightly bigger one. This guy is so funny that this... Oh, I guess that one's got 3 planes on it, that's got 2, that's got 2. So even though there's little routes, they're the ones suffering the consequence of those big planes. So that's the direction towards Los Angeles. Probably just eyeball a few of these and guess which side's the one that's gonna happy. Again, I think that's 2 planes just sitting right on top of each other. Alright, which way to Mexico City from here? I think is it north? Yeah, north. Someone said that they were thinking about the way that this would work. Like, how would you have an airline like this actually work in an airport? Like, as I think basically it's suggesting the idea that this, if you were realistically doing this, you wouldn't have a plane bounce from Sydney back to Charlotte and back to Sydney. That plane would just continue on, and basically you would just have passengers disembarking and new ones embarking as it went. That people wouldn't be getting off the planes. It's almost more like a train that's just stopping at a station. I was thinking that the way that I could see this working would be more like a chairlift. That this whole system is just a series of chairlifts with 2 rails, one going one direction, the other going the other, as chairlifts do. And it's just that you get into your little compartment and hopefully you go faster than the speed of a normal chairlift. And you were just bouncing through. And it's just, you'll slow down as you get to a thing. If you want to get off, that's where you're getting off. If not, stay on. Continue on. I mean, assumingly, if you were doing that as a design, as long as the chairlift was of a size that that you could have like a bed and a bathroom, and it was almost like, if you imagine like a suite, but you had windows on all 4 sides, and each time you stopped at a you had, say, like, I don't know, a section that was that when you reached a new city, someone could either clean or drop off more food, take away old things. and so that you sort of like there was a plan and how you were like rotating things through, it could be a really pleasant experience to just ride the line, just to have these views of flying over Europe and Africa and so on. That's my pitch for why you would introduce this to the world. Fast chairlifts, cable cars. Chairlift would probably be very unenjoyable, especially at speed, with your luggage just flying around in there. The idea of having to swing out to this guy is not that appealing. But I mean, I can't imagine it's much worse, is it? I mean, at that point I don't really have a choice, I guess, so let's go up. That's its north. I did like the idea of when I upgrade one 500, I also think you can just give them a 300. London occasionally swings in there, so it does. They are shifting them back the other way. This is where this becomes a little bit complicated, because this guy was struggling because of how much traffic is going this way. This guy here is struggling for how much traffic he's sending this way. So at what point are these guys going to overload in the middle here? Because it's two different bottlenecks that are about to collide. I mean, this guy is traffic traveling this way. In theory, I guess upgrading both, like just the planes in the middle, will mean that it'll move through this section a bit more and the bottlenecks will move beyond each other. Let's jump back to... Alright. So that guy, at least, we'll probably put to the end of the line of Zambia. Got to somehow get back over to Namibia. Also among the lowest population density in the world. Alright, well this guy will at least make one of the longer lines in here shorter. Does make me a little reluctant to give up Angola while it's got so many lines that can still get shortened. Of the countries here, Zimbabwe is the one I know most about. I'm sure I've said this before, purely because they played cricket on a much higher level Like, I haven't heard of any of the cricket teams of these guys. They possibly don't even have them. The Andy Flower days of Zimbabwean cricket. I do recall when they occasionally had a chance to win some games. Andy and his brother. I remember in one Cricket World Cup, Canada actually wasn't too bad either. And I had one guy who normally played in Australia, so I can't recall if he was just technically Canadian. He actually lived in Australia, or if he was through and through Canadian. I want to say his name was Pete Davidson, but that now could just be mixed up with the Snell. Pretty sure his name was Davison or Davidson, and he was doing everything. He was doing the best batting numbers, best bowling numbers. I think in the World Cup, Canada got painfully close to beating the West Indies, almost just entirely off his back. I mean, how long ago, how many World Cups ago would that have been? John Davison. There you go. There you go. And just sort of showing my age a little bit. It was a match that took place on February 23rd, 2003, where the West Indies won, but John Davison was still the player of the game. As he bat for 111, he's got 111 off 76 balls, and his team totaled 202. They scored more than half the runs, and then West Indies just got them to bat, and Brian Lara was still on the team at that stage, and he just show's over. There you go. For any Canadians that didn't know that there is the history of the glory days of Canadian cricket was circa 2003 when John Davison was pretty good. So I'm not sure about this layout that I'm currently putting in here, because if the assumption is that Zimbabwe is then going to flow into Botswana, into Namibia, and then South Africa through these guys and up through through Mozambique. The reliance is that Mozambique is actually going to have enough cities all the way up it to cater to that. Actually, in fact, it has to bounce out to Madagascar anyway, so I don't think there's any other way. I mean, in theory, I could go sweep down through here, and then Australia, and then just fly from Perth to Madagascar. I mean, if I was actually doing that, then possibly I'd be better off adding the French Southern Antarctic lands. I really lost my way with that one. And then Madagascar is the one country that I don't add, so the game doesn't end. I feel like that really is the one that should be that land. Interestingly, though, I find, is that for a country that has... I have the impression of being such a cricketing nation, at least more than its neighbours, its city names are very not colonial. It's an exciting prospect. I'm still in the process of going down in the money I have to a point that I wonder if I should just let it run for a while. Alright, where are you best fitting in? Guess since that's our shortest route, may as well just... Am I not clicking on that? Okay. Let's have a look. I assume that Zimbabwe is still going to have been occupied by England at some point. Officially the Republic of Zimbabwe. Capital is... How do we reckon what that's pronounced? I think generally with African words, I would have thought an E at the end is actually a hard E, so it would be Harare, as opposed to hurrah. By the way, Harare was formerly Salisbury, so I think that sounds like the they've reclaimed the language capital cities. Well, I mean, at least that one city. Population of 15 million. Zimbabwe is one of the richest histories of any nation in southern Africa and first became a major trade route in the 11th century during its late Iron Age. The Bantu people would become the ethnic Shona, built the vast city-state of Great Zimbabwe, little wealth of natural resources. Great Zimbabwe flourished financially and culturally from the 14th to 15th centuries, becoming a mercantile powerhouse that controlled the gold, ivory, and copper trades with the Swahili coast and various Arab and Indian states. That blows my mind thinking about how are you getting from the Arabic and Indian states to Zimbabwe in the 15th century. I mean, obviously they own the coast, so I assume that'd be boats as well, but otherwise it'd be a long land trip. But I mean, I do wonder what it's like to travel in these waters though, because in theory India could just come across here and these guys could come down the coast. I know that one of the countries here, I can't remember which, has a pretty good relationship with Oman. I used to have an Omanian friend who was telling me that. I can't remember which one of these countries is the one that's closely tied to Oman, but they do have a relationship down here. The other interesting thing, I'm not sure if I've thrown this fact out here before. I learnt this one while in Madagascar. So when you go to Madagascar, it's quite interesting because there's people that live in the cities, and then there's people that live out in the just sort of out in the fields and farming communities and so on. And the people in farming communities have a really like that standard African sort of look to them, their physical characteristics. Meanwhile, the people who look in the cities don't. They actually have a bit more of a look of what I would describe maybe someone who comes from southern Asia. And it turns out because the first people to occupy the country of Madagascar was Indonesia. Apparently Indonesians traveled across and started living in this island sooner than people from mainland Africa moved there. So there are two very distinct different looks of people, because there are ones that are from South Asia and ones that are from mainland Africa. So the idea that there were people moving around in boats in the Indian Ocean definitely checks out. Alright, well these two cities up here we can make an easy connection of. Let's get rid of that, and then we'll just square grid here. Going back to getting an Angolan city there, so I wonder if we're starting to see the end of our... Actually, we got a few Zambian cities too, so maybe we've gotten everything that Zimbabwe's wanted to show us. Definitely a path starting to form section down here. What we could potentially do is have these guys come down into this, around, and then back out and go that way. Bring in Botswana. Actually, we don't have that connection there, do I? Name like Gaborone down here makes me think that these guys were French occupied. Officially the Republic of Botswana. 70% of its territory is the Kalahari Desert. Population of 2.2 million. So, another small population. It was formerly one of the world's poorest countries with a GDP per capita of around $70 per year in the late 1960s. It has since transformed itself into an upper middle income country with one of the world's fastest growing economies. I wonder what they're doing to help bolster their economy. Modern day humans first inhabited the country over 200,000 years ago. In 1885, the British colonised the area and declared protectorate under the name of Botswana land. And it gained its independency, became an independent Commonwealth Republic. This means they get to compete in the Commonwealth Games under its current name in 1966. So I guess that was about the same time that it was extremely poor. Oh well, good for them then. Means that they took I guess the British had left them in disarray, and when they took ownership of it themselves, they started to turn it around. Okay, there we go. Economy is dominated by mining, cattle, and tourism. Know what tourism you'd have. I suppose there'd be people that would just be interested to see the Kalahari Desert, so that would make a little bit of sense. let's just create a running line down the side here. Now. And what we'll do is I've added Botswana very late in the play there. Normally I would have just kept it to 2, but oh well. Is this another one? So I guess next time what we're going to do is just watch Botswana grow a little bit more. And it might not have that many cities, I suppose, if it's got such a small population, but it seems like they'll give me cities even if it's probably just one guy's house and sparse enough. And yeah, there we go. A little bit more of the what we call it, Southern Africa. A few goes up here. Let's. Always good to get more cities up in our sort of any country. Like it's not the greatest idea to think that if I just move on from a country, they no longer get any towns at all. So I'm always happy to see more showing up. So we'll get this guy, Brantsville. Long cut across there. Well, there we go. So Angola was part of it, Zimbabwe and Botswana. That is now how we are looking in Southern Africa. We're almost to the base, and then we can start working our way back up. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to chuck them below. Till next time, catch you later. See ya.